Alrighty, cool. I think we can go ahead and get started. People will keep joining. Once again, welcome to our webinar today. We're going to be walking you through our newest tool called EasyCoach. As you know, a lot of organizations are moving towards skill building, see how we can go beyond content consumption to actually being able to practice. I have two wonderful speakers here, William from Equity Trust and DeJuan from Station Casinos from Ohio and Vegas over here joining us. And we'd love to walk you through how EasyCoach has worked for them, how are their organizations moving towards more skill building, walk you through what our tool looks like as well, and obviously take questions as we go along as well. So before we get started, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself real quick. I'm Khushboo. I'm from the Easygenerator team. I'm the product marketing lead on EasyCoach. We've been working super hard and long to get EasyCoach out to the public to really start to build practice at scale. Obviously, Easygenerator is our core product, and courses and trainings are really important, but how can we elevate that experience by giving you now an ability to actually practice and ensure that you're confident before the actual conversation occurs? I just want to have William and DeJuan introduce themselves as well. So over to you, William.
Yeah, hello. My name is William. I work out of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm the learning and development specialist here at Equity Trust. We sell retirement accounts, and I work primarily with our sales team. So I'm excited to be here.
DeJuan, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Greetings all. My name is DeJuan Taylor. I'm the Vice President of Talent Development at Station Casinos out in Las Vegas. And the easiest way to kind of think of Station Casinos, most people, when they think of Las Vegas, they think about the Strip. Well, the locals market, which we're the market leader of, is actually the second largest gaming market in the entire United States. So that's what we kind of specialize in, everything from your hotel, casino, but also the entertainment piece, such as bowling, concert venues, etc. So really excited to be here, and I look forward to a great conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you both. So before we go ahead and get started, I'll just walk you through our agenda real quick. So we're going to go ahead and hear from both William and DeJuan on how they've actually implemented EasyCoach, but more than that, how they've gotten their organization to move towards skill development. How do they look at that in terms of their organization? What types of use cases do they see success? Where skills is important, where practice is important, and how are they scaling this across their businesses as well? After that, we'll move into an EasyCoach demo where I'll be walking you through what the EasyCoach platform looks like. Again, as mentioned in the chat, feel free to drop in your questions at any point in time. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so we do have some time for that as well. And yeah, we're excited to get started. So I'm going to pass the mic over to William to share with us how he's been building out EasyCoach for Equity Trust, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you. So before EasyCoach, I had a predicament or a spot that I think a lot of people in training experience, where I was getting asked to have our new hires in sales and supporting roles ready for real client conversations and quickly. And we had kind of 2-3 main challenges working against us during that process, or in general with that process. And the first is time, right? I'm not able to sit on each role play, have each conversation, do each role play over and over again. There's only one of me. There's a lot of new hires. The second thing is that I am not an expert when it comes to having our sales conversations. I'm more of an expert when it comes to building the training. And so it might not make sense for me to be critiquing these role plays or giving feedback. And so what that meant was that the real bottleneck in our process was leadership, right, of these different sales organizations. We needed them to be having these conversations with our sales reps, with our sales support staff, real practice, real feedback. And the only way to do that before EasyCoach was taking up time on their calendar. And that was expensive in terms of time and cost, and it didn't scale past a certain point, right? So back then, I knew that we needed a tool and we needed to get leadership's buy-in in, because it was going to actually protect their time. And the other thing that we experienced there too, which was that the handoff from training to live calls was kind of informal, right? It depended upon which manager the new hires were assigned to, what was going on in the coaching sessions. And so different new hires could have the same role, the same training, but have a different experience, which would have been different outcomes. So I brought this problem to Easygenerator and EasyCoach, and what they helped me do was take this volume of practice off of leadership's plate and hand it to this AI role play partner that could run these scenarios over and over again without management's calendar being involved, right? And the kind of the reframe that I sold them on, and I'll come back to this later, was that leadership stopped being asked, right, to run every single repetition of role play. Instead, what they got to do is review the outputs, look at the data, and that's a fraction of the time and a much higher like value use of their attention. But one thing I didn't expect was that it also gave me data. When I started grading the role plays, looking at the data over time, what it was able to do is show up patterns where we had missed the mark when it came to training. Like, for example, we have this one process where we help set up LLCs and has all these complicated forms. And I noticed that people were really struggling when describing this process to the AI role play bot. So that was able to inform me like, oh, okay, training needs to be improved in these spots and give us that visibility on it. Um, so when I first started out to build it, when I sat down, it kind of came faster than I expected. It was really easy to use the software. The structure is very simple. You'll see today, you get kind of a title, an AI character that you can build out, some traits, context, interaction rules, and your evaluation criteria. And the real lift with getting these off the ground, which is good for my sales organization, right, is getting them to have good source material to provide me before I put it in the tool. So scripts, objections, hearing like what good sounds like, right, before I even start to create the role play. Once I have that in hand, translating into EasyCoach is really easy. It was really easy, yeah. And so after every scenario, I would get faster and faster, and I can probably stand one up now when I have source material in less than an hour and kind of get it rolling. So I've built out a pretty full library of these so far. I think I've built over 70 different role plays over the time, probably the last couple months. And a couple tips that I've learned through using it is, I'm stealing real language from my sales and support staff, right? I want to know like what are my top representatives saying. I want dialogue. I want the AI giving me feedback that's very real, so I can make these calls, these role play scenarios mirror their calls. Two, I've built kind of a reusable skeleton or template that allows me to kind of nail down exactly what I want. And I created my own process that I can give to colleagues so that if they want to create their role plays for their specific teams, I'm not the bottleneck anymore. Third, building the role plays with my learners, I kind of sequence on complexity. So we start off with our simplest, easiest conversations, and then we layer in objections, persistent callers, edge cases, right? So we kind of build up the confidence. And we will also create like rubrics before we start, right? That's a big one. I want these teams to define for me what good looks like. Otherwise, I'm just guessing and I won't do well at that. And lastly, we use the tool to diagnose, just not as practice, right? So we go in there, we look at the data and say, where are the gaps for this learner? Where are the gaps for this role? How can we get better? What do we need to practice more? And so kind of to get into the results of what actually has happened, manager coaching time for us has gone down significantly. We kind of redesigned our training program with this built in. And we've cut down manager training from roughly about 15 hours a week, right? Drilling with these new hires to about 5 hours a week. Ramp up time is faster. We have new hires going from the training onboarding process to the early stages of call ready, from it was roughly at 8 weeks, I would say, before, to about 4 or 5 weeks now. And those two kind of numbers or factors, the hours we're putting back on our manager's calendar, the faster ramp up time, is what I use to kind of bring leadership around on investing in this, right? Like once they could see that time coming back to them, it's not really a hard conversation to promote this. And then, like I mentioned, I get better grading data back on these gaps in our training, so I can kind of redesign our training as we go. And so lastly, the way I got buy-in on this was that these coaching hours, these ramp up time. I took this to leadership. I made a point of leading with how this was a win, not a limitation. I framed it as context, not a constraint, right? Not an excuse. And so what I did is I made a strategic recommendation. I said, hey, here's a more effective way to use our time. I gave them visibility. I gave them admin access into the reporting, into the performance data so they could see it. And so at the end of the day, we kind of let the data do the persuading, right? We let them see the gap analysis, the ramp up time. And it was easy from there. And that's where we're at now, where I think we use probably 40 to 50 different role plays and multiple different hires, new training process. And I'm really grateful for the software. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, William. I think some great insights in there, and always good to see that 70 role plays is a huge number and it would otherwise take a lot of time. So I'm so glad that you've been using it in such a way. So thank you so much for sharing. Before we jump to DeJuan, there was a question in the chat that I thought might be useful to answer right now, which is, did you consider any other AI role play solutions other than EasyCoach, and how do they compare? And then maybe DeJuan, we can also go to you for that before we jump into what your insights are.
I've used a few, or I've looked into a few. I didn't get really far down the road with them. One I had kind of demoed was called Mind Tickle, I think. And there was a few others, but this is the one I'm most primarily familiar with. So apologies, I don't have a lot of insight into that.
Perfect. We've heard Mind Tickle come up quite a bit as well on our end when we are monitoring competitors. But yeah, DeJuan, what about you?
I've actually used Easygenerator for quite some time, even at a prior employer. So for me, it was really big on bringing that to Station Casinos when I came back to the company. So as we looked at different things at even a prior employer, I always thought the wonderful thing about EasyCoach in comparison to everyone else was the simplicity of it. So not to say that the other things didn't eventually get you to the job. There were just so many other steps that everything we found that we would use. It just took so many different steps to get there. And I just love the fact that just like Easygenerator, the EasyCoach with the role plays was just so simple. And so it was easy to integrate it into all the different things, whether I wanted to just send a link really quickly or put it in my LMS. So that's why I was just kind of stuck with EasyCoach and the things that Easygenerator offered as comparison to any of the other competitors out.
Yeah, and it's so nice to always see like avid Easygenerator users. So we appreciate you being so loyal and bringing it over from your previous employer as well. And I think Easygenerator is also continuously evolving and growing. EasyCoach would have been probably in our dreams a couple years ago. It's nice to see that we're here and we're able to talk about it and also move along with the industry on this aspect as well. But I did want to hand the mic over to you, DeJuan, before we move into the demo, just to get your insights on how EasyCoach has been working for you in Station Casinos as well.
Absolutely. And, I'll actually incorporate some of that question into what our challenge was. So here at Station Casinos, because we deal with so many vast type of demographics, as well as even departments, we had to make sure that like our training, we would do a lot of in-person training. We're probably a team of 6 where we have 22 properties across the valley. So it's kind of hard for those individuals to get out to do all those trainings. So we knew that we were doing a great job onboarding people in the sense of giving them that first shot of training, but then were we actually able to make sure that it was scalable or able to be applied and measured in a way that we can truly see like a return on investment? A lot of the times in training, people always ask, well, what's their ROI? And this helped us actually start to see it because of the data analytics that came along with it. And also when you're in a company like ours, I don't necessarily have a full-on design team as far as like building out content. So I also wanted a software or something that was very simple to use. For example, I actually have experience creating content with Articulate or Adobe Premiere and going really deep into like mass build it from scratch from the bottom up, which takes a lot of time. Where the people on my team really didn't have that same experience or background to create content in that way. So Easygenerator itself was very simple, plug and play. And so that was great for a team that was just starting to learn how to even develop any type of e-learning content. So once we had the opportunity to kind of capture EasyCoach, which was very simple, it really helped us get from doing those in-person role plays where someone's shy or nervous or they don't want to mess up in front of their peers to now be able to create content, and that person can do it right in the comfortability of their office or from their cell phone, or we didn't have to go across town and do a 40-minute drive for that. We could simply build it and then allow them to get immediate feedback, whether it was in their language or in the English language, because we actually have several different graphics here. So the fact that EasyCoach could even be translated or utilized in 26 languages, that truly was a huge asset to us when, again, our population is just so diverse that we wanted to make sure that we were able to reach as many people as possible. And some of the simple things that when you think about it from our end is something as simple as how is our front desk agent speaking to guests, or how are we interacting with maybe an intoxicated guest. So we were able to build role plays on very specific things that were true to our business need. All the way to the fact that we even built out role plays for our leadership. So in leadership, there's different aspects of like performance conversations or interviewing techniques to be able to get people that practice, because we are a company that loves to promote from within. So we typically would take an hourly team member and allow them to go on this path towards leadership, management, et cetera. But we also want to make sure that we're giving them the tools. And the best way to get the tools is by getting your reps, getting the opportunity to repeat the process time and time again without it having to be on the spot or on the job training. So this is kind of what really made us go for EasyCoach, was the simplicity and the partnership we already had through Easygenerator. But by seeing the tool and knowing that these people could interact with this AI-powered role play environment, get immediate feedback, and then have a structured evaluation, anything from a transcript in Word so they can read it back, or being able to hear the audio. But we loved also the fact that it kind of gave the pros and the cons of what a person experienced, and that way they can also improve. And many people, as they see a score, maybe you set the score at 70%, if they get 50% or 60%, they want to strive to get the 70%. And then when they get to 70, they want to get to 80%. Like, we've seen that people just have that natural desire to grow. And this also gives people the opportunity to kind of self-teach or grow on their own at a self-pace. Maybe a person is an hourly team member and they want to become a leader. Well, we have all these different role plays built out that they can now click in on their own time, do it, and it actually enhances their talent and their skills, so that when they do apply for that role, even though they may have not been a manager yet, they had the opportunity to actually have real world scenarios. And so in doing that, we always just partner with different departments to make sure that, similar to William, we know what success looks like based off of the feedback. And it was great because even in the first iteration of EasyCoach, you could put in, the team member says this, the AI bot should respond this way. The leader says this, the AI should respond this way. And so we found that to be truly beneficial because we were able to use the same language as our company, but also attaching or uploading documents. Maybe it's a policy, or maybe it's a sequence of service, or different standards of procedure. So that way, it's also helping the AI bot learn and speak truly to how Station Casino's language is. So it didn't seem, it was very authentic, was a huge portion of it for us. And the setup is so easy. It really is creating a simple prompt, adding some flair to it. Do you want the person to be nice? Do you want them to be a little hesitant? You get to give your AI a personality. And that way, depending on what level a student may be in or a team member may be, you can actually make it more challenging for them as well. Three things that kind of stand out to us right now, beyond just our typical guest service, we actually do some things called Pathway to Citizenship, which is helping people to get their US citizenship. And so we actually set up one of our AI role plays to really mimic that interview process to help people get comfortable. We've used it for helping someone create emails and be more professional in the emails, because with EasyCoach, one of the advanced options is that you could either use audio, so you can speak to it, or you can also use text. So we disabled the audio portion so the person could truly focus on their typing and their written skills. But then we also have individuals who want to work on maybe leading an executive meeting without all the verbal pauses, ums, ahs, etc. And we disable the written portion so that they always have to talk to the AI agent. So again, EasyCoach is very flexible as long as you know what your outcome is and what the goal is. The one thing I would also recommend to individuals is reach out to those individuals that you already have a relationship and trust. You know, the one hardship that I came by is initially we just sent out a mass email. Hey, everybody, sign up, click the link. And we didn't see a lot of people click the link. But when we reached out to individual leaders and other team members in the company and said, hey, I want you to try this tool. Let me sit down with you for 5 minutes to show you. Then our numbers just skyrocketed. Within a month, we went from about 76 users to over 280 different learners. And at this point, we have over 106 role plays created. So we can truly see that just by them being more specific and targeted, it naturally, organically became something that was really beneficial to us as a company. I would always tell people just make sure that you focus on the behaviors and the keys that you're trying to change. We have seen cost savings because obviously we didn't have to hire more staff to get out to another property. We've seen really a lot of those things continuously benefit us as a company. And so I would always recommend for anyone, go EasyCoach. EasyCoach is the way to go. It definitely has made my world that much easier, especially leading an organization when we do anything from our internship programs or succession planning. We can truly see the impact. And as of right now, we probably have about 7.5 hours of active learning time through the platform. Again, a lot of this has already just been generated over the last 2 months. So we've really seen a true increase over the last 2 months once we were able to personalize the experience. And now they're doing the work for us. And the beauty is once they get in the habit, meaning our leaders got in the habit, they're creating their own role plays. So it's no longer just my team of 6, but now we actually have over 20 different people creating role plays because they know what they need in their department and they know the things that people may need. So they're just doing it that much faster. It just truly has increased our bandwidth. So again, I thank you all very much for the opportunity. I thank you for the platform and the fact that you constantly are taking our feedback and making modifications. It just has made our world so much better. Even going into our 50th anniversary for the company as of July 1st, it was a great time for us to really do a huge campaign around EasyCoach. And so we thank you very much for just increasing the service element in all our areas, but also helping develop our future leaders.
Thank you so much for that, DeJuan. That was super nice. And I think a couple of things really stood out to me. The first was around how oftentimes now we're giving, with tools like EasyCoach, we're giving people the place to practice at their own time. As much as role play sessions that happen in person or in training rooms are meant to feel nice and light, oftentimes it feels like a test, and we might feel we're prepared, and then we come to the session and we're nervous because we're all human beings, and maybe it's a manager or maybe it's someone who's in learning and development coaching you, and it's stressful and whatever. I thought I remembered, I don't remember when I come on the spot. And we're human beings at the end of the day. This way we can actually practice in our pajamas, in our comfort zone at midnight if we want to. So that's always a nice thing, even for myself to use, like practicing to have this conversation over here. And I think the other thing was about how we can get more people in the organization on board, right? Role plays is something that every type of team needs to do in some capacity. You can even just build one out for yourself if you don't want your manager or someone else in the team to do it for you. So I think getting more people in the organization to understand that they can actually not spend their own manual hours doing these role play sessions, and having a tool do that for you, and then maybe you finding a better strategy that works for you to like sign off on whether someone is ready or not, rather than giving all those countless hours, could maybe help organizations scale a lot better as well. So really appreciate both William and DeJuan, your insights on that. Before we move on to the into the demo itself, I just wanted to pause over here for a second. I think most of you received emails to invite you to the webinar over here. And there was a little bit of a surprise in those emails. We would like to give you access for 14 days for EasyCoach if you'd like for free. But I'm just going to put out a little poll right now to see if you guys want that access. If you do, we'll go ahead and grant you access by tomorrow. So feel free to mark either yes or no on it. I'm going to share it right now. And we'll just keep track of that. So let me know how that goes. So the idea is you'll have access to EasyCoach for a couple of weeks. We'll share how to get set up on the how to get your account set up. We'll whitelist you so you can go ahead and play around with it. Create your own role plays, practice it yourself. Everyone has different use cases. I might not know your specific use case. Maybe it works well, maybe it doesn't work well for what you want. So we want to give you that environment to really try it out. If you say maybe later, don't worry, we'll have someone follow up with you if you'd like at a later time. If you don't want it, also absolutely fine. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Alrighty. And I am just going to go ahead and before sharing my screen into the demo, I just want to go into EasyCoach and why we built it as an organization. And obviously with organizations and partners like Equity Trust and Station Casinos who have really, I think, partnered with us in the journey of developing a tool like EasyCoach, but also previously with Easygenerator, they've been like walking with us hand in hand to really help us shape the product. It's very new. We're always working on the feedback that we receive. We take our customer base really seriously. So we really want it to work for you guys, and we're open to all the feedback that you have. So thank you to both of you. But before we go into that, I actually want to talk about why we've built this product in Easygenerator, right? So I think we can I think what I want to start off with is that we know that right now coaching is happening across the board, but we know that the way it's currently happening really doesn't scale, right? It's really dependent on whether, let's say, your manager has time. Does your organization have a coach available? Is it convenient? Is it inconvenient? It's also very inconsistent in terms of the quality that you receive. You know, is your manager in the same time zone as you? Then maybe you get it more often. Do they like you? Then maybe they want to share, they want to give you more coaching. Maybe they don't. There's a lot of different variables. And in general, it's just very infrequent. Maybe you join a company and you're in sales and they give you 1 or 2 role play sessions to learn how to pitch a product, negotiate, learn all the pricing, learn the product. And that's just not enough for somebody to learn and feel confident before they get on the phone and actually have this conversation with a real customer. So that's actually where we've built EasyCoach from, right? And we've built it on three pillars. That's the fundamental of the product. So the first is practice, giving a safe space for you to practice specific company-specific scenarios and repeat it as many times as you'd like as a learner. So you can create a situation for yourself. Your manager can create one for you. Somebody else in the organization can create it for you. L&D can create it for you. But the idea is that you can practice it as many times as you'd like in a safe environment. The second is feedback, being able to actually receive in real-time feedback on what went well, what you could be better at, and a breakdown of all these skills, right? Maybe you don't want your manager coming and say, oh, Khushboo, you really aren't good at this. I'm a lot more receptive to feedback if I can read it, try it again, give myself a few attempts before I actually go in and maybe have that session with my manager as well. And the third is visibility, right? Because L&D, managers, admins, they do want to actually see if a tool like EasyCoach and if in general practice is helping their teams improve. You don't want it to be something where like, oh, I've given you a tool, but I don't actually know if anyone is improving. Is there any business impact at the end of the day? So we want to give you an ability to actually track improvement across your teams, across the board, to see are people getting better with time? And how can we get more people involved based off of that as well? So putting that in context, there are a couple of use cases where we've seen EasyCoach really shine when we look at how EasyCoach has been performing across our entire customer base. So the first one is around sales. Can you handle objections? Can you negotiate? Can you do discovery questions? Second is around leadership. I think William spoke about this one where, you know, you have managers that are coming into this role multiple times, all year round, but are any of us actually trained to be managers? I think most of us just get told, oh, you're promoted, and then now you have to figure out what to do. You don't know how to have those conversations. You are not equipped. How do you handle difficult one-on-ones? How do you handle challenging team members? Even if you're not a manager, I think we can all safely say there's been someone on a team at some point in time that we have a hard time communicating with. How can we actually get better at communicating with them, right? Third is customer support. Now, imagine you are a 24-hour support agent, or you're working a not a 24-hour shift, but your company offers 24-hour support. You want to learn how to close tickets a lot quicker. You want to be able to respond to queries a lot quicker, have less back and forth with the customer. Can you handle escalations? Can you handle someone who's angry on the phone? You also have onboarding. People join companies all the time, but they don't have that readiness. I gave the example of sales earlier, but can you use role play tools to actually get them up to speed? Maybe it's reiterating company policy. Maybe it's reiterating your product. Maybe it's talking about what your go-to market process is. Maybe talking about your compliance things. Also, product knowledge. I'm sitting here talking about EasyCoach. Maybe I just need to learn how to talk about EasyCoach better. Maybe you work at Nike and you now want to be able to get all of your showroom staff up to speed on every single shoe model that's there. Are you going to sit there and teach each of them, or are you going to give them a tool where they can go and practice and get comfortable with that? And then lastly, soft skills. I think something all of us are continuously trying to improve at, right? Can we influence? Can we collaborate? Can we communicate across department, across different levels, seniority, active listening, etc. So now, without further ado, I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen and walk you through a demo. And unfortunately, technology still isn't as robust, and we always face issues with AV. So please let me know if you cannot see my screen okay. But hopefully you can. Alrighty. Cool. So the way I've actually set up the demo is to walk you through what the learner sees first, right? Because obviously the setup flow and the create flow is great, but we want to optimize for the learner. What's the learner going to see? Once we go through the learner flow, I'm going to show you what the feedback looks like. Then I'm going to show you how to create a role play, and then I'll show you what analytics looks like as well. So with that in mind, over here, this is my learner dashboard, Khushboo the learner, not Khushboo the creator. I am going to see all of the role plays that have been shared with me. Along with that, I'm going to see my own progress. And if you guys see, I haven't been doing too great, right? I have a very high not pass rate. My average score is 43%. I'm not doing too hot over here. But I would like to show you how I can maybe try again and get better at it. So I'm going to go ahead and click into one of the role plays that's been shared with me as a learner. I'm going to see over here, I can read through the instructions. So this role play is about me being the head of marketing, and I have to give feedback to my marketing manager during a regular one-on-one where they have missed a lot of deadlines. They are typically really good. They have a really strong track record, but they have missed deadlines, which has impacted a lot of projects and therefore other people in the team as well. This manager is tending towards being defensive. So I need to learn how to manage that. I also see on the right-hand side the skills that I'm going to be measured on. So I'm going to be looked at, for example, impact explanation, emotional regulation. I have 6 other skills here that I'm going to be analyzed on. So there's something to keep in mind. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'll be able to start the role play. And as a learner, I can actually take the role play in multiple different languages. I think it's 26 over different languages over here. So you create it one time, and then your learner can take it in any language that they want. You also have 2 modalities, voice and text. I'm just going to 1 second. I'm going to share and also share audio. Just make sure audio is shareable. Alrighty. So imagine I am working in support and my primary channel is chat. Maybe it's not necessary for me to actually practice via voice, so I can go ahead and practice with chat. But just to keep things interesting, I'm going to show you the voice experience. Now, we are sharing screen, and sometimes there is a lag because Demio, with the platform we're using for webinar, is different. So bear with me. I'm going to show you the live transcript on the right-hand side as well. So hopefully it works well, but I promise you it will work well when you try it yourself, just in case it doesn't translate well over shared screen. Once I start voice recording, I won't be able to speak with anybody specifically, so we'll pause after the conversation and we'll take it from there. Can you guys hear my audio okay? I feel like you can't. I'm going to try again.
I can hear you, but I couldn't hear the role play.
Okay. I'm going to try again. Let's see.
Is there something specific you wanted to discuss about my recent performance? Or should we go over the main concerns together?
Hey, Emily. Yeah, thanks for reaching out. So, the idea is obviously to go through what's been going on in the team. I know that a lot of unnecessary things have come on your plate, but I'm curious to understand what those things are, just so I can help ensure this doesn't happen moving forward as well, and to ensure that you're equipped.
I appreciate you asking. Honestly, a lot of the extra work has come from last minute requests from the product and sales teams. Things like urgent landing pages or campaign tweaks that weren't planned. It's been tough to juggle those with my main projects. Are you able to push back on those cross departmental asks? Or is that something I should be handling differently?
Yeah, no, Emily, I can understand when things come last minute and from different departments. It's really difficult to manage. And obviously, what I love about you is that you're always willing to jump in and support everyone around you. But we do work in sprints in the marketing team. So it would have been nice to actually have a heads up during one of those meetings to understand that these things were coming your way, just so I could help you reshift your priorities as well, just so you can also ensure that you're delivering things at top quality across the board. Is there a reason that you didn't bring this up on time?
I get that, but honestly, it felt like everyone was already stretched, and I didn't want to sound like I couldn't handle my workload. I figured I could just power through and get it all done, but clearly that didn't work out as planned. Do you actually want us to flag every time something unexpected comes up, even if it feels minor at first?
No, obviously, I wouldn't want to be a blocker over here, but I think that this has impacted a bunch of different deadlines across the board, right? And it impacts other people on the team as well. So while it might seem minor in the large scheme of things, I do feel like because it's impacting so many people, it would have been good to know ahead of time. But regardless, let's not dwell on what's happened in the past. Why don't we work out what we can do in the future to ensure this doesn't happen again?
Fair enough. I can see how not flagging things early might have made things harder for the team. I'm open to changing how I communicate about these issues, but I do want to make sure there's some flexibility if urgent requests keep coming in. What's your expectation if I get hit with more?
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end call. I think you get the gist. And beyond the AV issues, which seem to always come my way when I do these demos, I actually just wanted to pause and ask everyone on the chat what they thought about it, but also William and DeJuan, what do you guys think about the conversation? Was Emily defensive?
Yeah, I think I don't know, defensive. She definitely had some reasons for the issues. I guess I would have to look further into them, but certainly there is some defensiveness. Yeah.
Yeah. DeJuan, any thoughts from you?
Sorry, I got disconnected towards the end of your presentation. So
No worries at all.
I just
No
jumped back
worries
in.
at
I
all.
apologize.
No, please. That's totally fine. We were also having some AV issues, so we're all good. Okay, guys. So that was the learner experience. Now, I want to actually walk you through what the feedback looks like. So obviously, I didn't do too great. I got 59% over here. I'm going to be able to see what I did well, what I could not do well as, but you could also enable or disable scoring. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I've actually kept scoring turned on, which means I receive a score. But I think it's very safe to say that there are some situations that don't require a score, right? So we have some customers who really don't like scores because they think that it kind of takes away from like the practice and feel comfortable and feel confident experience because it kind of simulates a test. And we have some customers who love scoring because it's really easy to tie to did you pass or fail. So it really depends on the use case that you have in mind over here. But over here, I did have scoring enabled. and I'll be able to actually look at what I did well on. So I have good feedback over here on, for example, let's not dwell on what happened again in the past. It actually quotes things from the conversation, so I know what I did well at. It also tells me what I could do better. So for example, I was empathetic, but then my feedback was really softened. And actually, in reality, that's how I am too. So this is really good feedback for myself. So it gives you quotes from the conversation itself. Because obviously, if you don't have a real person that's giving you feedback, maybe you don't actually know what to do better in the next time around. So we want to make sure the feedback is very actionable moving forward. Now, you also have a breakdown of each skill. So over here, I can actually see how I performed on each skill. So let's say constructive feedback delivery, I didn't do too great. I can click into it and I'll actually be able to see what I said and what are suggestions moving forward that I can take into the next round of practice that I do as well. In addition to that, you'll have a full role play transcript that you can go back to at any point in time. Plus, you can go back and listen to the audio as well. Also helpful if your manager wants to listen in to really see, like, maybe this person is continuously struggling with something, I can support them in that, or maybe I've seen them improve in this as well. So that's the whole learner experience over here. Feel free to drop your questions. I think I already see them coming in. But I'm going to actually move on to how we can create a role play. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Create tab. So I think DeJuan mentioned this. We have tried to make it as simple as possible in terms of how you can use it. So we're going to create a role play. Now, the idea is it's essentially as close to prompt to role play as we could have made it. So you put in a prompt, you explain what the situation is about, you explain who the characters are in the conversation, and you take it from there. So you can choose from a bunch of templates here if you don't really know what you want to, how to write a prompt or what you want. You can always click on a prompt and use this prompt and edit it as you'd like, but I've written my own prompt based off the conversation we had just now, just to show you what it would look like. So over here, I go into that the AI plays a marketing specialist, the learner plays a marketing team lead. I explain the situation. It's a one-on-one. I have to give performance feedback. Over here, I see that the AI attitude is confident, defensive, and subtly dismissive, which is what I think we saw in the conversation as well. She wasn't super aggressive, but she also wasn't she wasn't listening as much, right? She had her point. And I talk about the goal of the conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And it's going to take a couple of minutes here. And the reason is that the AI is actually going to do the heavy lifting for you. So based off of your prompt, everything will be generated for you. You don't have to think about anything from scratch. And all you really have to do is you can, you have to just, sorry, I lost my train of thought. So the AI does the heavy lifting for you. All you really have to do is edit, change, delete something if you don't like it as well. So you don't really have to think about anything from scratch, because we know that this is a very new type of tool. A lot of people don't know what they need to include, how much is too much detail, how much is too little detail. So we want your prompt to be able to do a lot of the work for you, and then you can take it from there. So let's just give it a second over here. Alrighty. Alrighty, cool. So now we are on our role play details page. And as I mentioned, everything is changeable. So I can go ahead and I can change the title to one-on-one team feedback. I think DeJuan spoke about this as well. You want to build out your character, right? This AI is playing somebody. If this was a one-on-one role play session, it's not between me and a robot, it's me and with someone else. So who is this somebody else? So you can actually go in and you can change Maya Patel to Emily Carter, which is who we had just now. I can go in, I can change what I think Emily Carter looks like. I can change their role. I can change their tone of voice. So I've made Emily skeptical over here. Now, I think I'm just going to ask, how many of you use ChatGPT? I think all of us more or less have tried it before or use it. And have you guys noticed how ChatGPT actually tends to sway really nice? So even if your idea might be very average, but they're always like, great job, Khushboo. Great idea. It's the most unique idea. When it's probably not. So you can actually choose how difficult you want your AI to be over here. Do you want it to be supportive? Because some conversations really require a supportive environment. Imagine it's a counseling session, or imagine it's a one-on-one feedback where somebody's really struggling with something. And then you can also have a very resistant AI. So imagine you have a really tough person in procurement while you're trying to close a sales deal. They're not going to be very nice. So you want that to also replicate the real world situation. So you can actually choose how difficult the AI should be. Also, your character traits are built out for you. Again, you can add, you can remove, you can edit as you'd like. You have your learner's role. So I had head of marketing. I can change this as well. Over here, you have your role play context. Sorry about that. You, again, all generated for you. All you really have to do is go in, read it, make sure it sounds good to you. If it doesn't, you can change it. Now, very important, and I think this is also what William was hinting at, was being able to actually upload your own documents and having it be very specific to your organization. So I'll give you an example of Easygenerator as a company. We give feedback using something called EDGE principles. EDGE is not something that is globally known. You can't find it on the internet. It doesn't exist. But I do have a document that was shared with me during the time of my interview. I can actually go in and upload it over here. And when I have the role play conversation, it'll take from that document and have that conversation with me based off of those EDGE principles. So you can make it very specific to your organization. Again, going back to, let's say, a showroom example. Let's say you work for Volkswagen and you want to train your showroom staff on when to pitch which car model based off of who walks in. You're not going to go and train each of them on everything, but you probably have a document that outlines the specs of each car and maybe the price range. You can actually go ahead and upload that in here, and this will be utilized in the conversation. So it saves you a lot of time. It becomes very specific to your organization. It's not something that somebody else can do because we don't have that documents. So very important aspect to use over here as well. And then you have your interaction rules. This is not very exciting, but it's very necessary, right? Imagine this is your control box. So we are dealing with AI here. We're not dealing with a human being here. So it is very important that you have some control mechanisms in place before you make your role play live. Now, I'm going to give you a very, very outlier example. Imagine over here, while we're in this room, I swear, or I just make a comment that's maybe like a little bit, I use a swear word. Maybe we'll just giggle, we'll laugh, we'll brush it off because we're human beings and we can kind of gauge that, oh, she said it in this context. But AI will not always know that. So you want to actually set your AI up for success, that if those outlier situations were to occur, how should the AI respond? Just so the AI doesn't derail. Very important, because AI can derail otherwise, right? And that's going to lose the impact that this role play will have. Again, we do all of it for you. So you don't have to think about new things unless you have something that isn't indicated here and you want to add it. And then you also have your settings. So do you want your role play to be available in voice and chat, voice only, chat only? I gave you an example earlier of if it's chat support, maybe you don't need to have the voice option available at all. Maybe they just practice in chat. So you have that flexibility. You also can decide who starts the role play and how long should the role play last. Our upper limit is 30 minutes. If it's longer than 30 minutes, they're probably taking a nap. So we don't want to make it longer than that. So you can go ahead and set those things. Now, the next page, skills and evaluation, arguably the most important part of this whole role play setup, right? Ultimately, you want to be able to see if people are getting better and where are they struggling. So coming actually in a couple of weeks, you can import your own skill library in. So if you have a skill library already set up, or if you already have a skills taxonomy that you used, you can go in and just import that in. You don't have to create it every time. What we do now is based off of your prompt, we go in and create skills for you. So you can go into active listening, for example. I can go in and edit, and I can change what the skill is, the description, and the definition of good, fair, poor. Very important, because all three of us sitting here on the call can have very different definitions of good, fair, and poor. And we want to ensure that our learners are measured based off of what we think is good, fair, and poor. You can also create your own skill if you'd like. And then you can enable or disable scoring. I spoke about this in the feedback. So you can actually set a minimum pass threshold. So maybe you have one that's 70%. So if your learners achieve more than 70%, they've passed. You can also disable scoring if you like. And then lastly, you have your instruction for learners over here. So making sure your learner knows what they need to do when they land on the platform. Again, everything is done for you. You can just check and go. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this role play. Alrighty. So now this is, I can just do a final check. I can go ahead and preview the role play, make sure I test it out, make sure it sounds okay. When I want to share the role play, I can actually share it via Teams. I can share it via email. I can share it via URL. If you want to embed with your LMS, you can actually, I don't have access to this because I don't have an LMS. You have an LMS URL. We have an LTI integration. So you'll be able to integrate with your LMS using LTI. So your basic analytics will transfer over to your LMS, and your learners will experience the whole thing within the LMS as well. We do not have SCORM as of yet. Right now, if you want to use SCORM, we recommend that you embed it into your Easygenerator course. We will be having SCORM potentially at the end of Q3. So that's in the works. Now, probably the most exciting things, and I think some of you mentioned some competitors earlier. One of the unique things that EasyCoach offers is actually analytics in the platform, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click into analytics. This is available for admins. And we have a very robust roadmap for our analytics feature coming up in this quarter as well. So you can actually go into your analytics and you can see how your organization is doing across the board, how many learners, how many role plays, learning time, etc., what the role play outcomes are. You can also go into by role play. So I can actually go into each role play. I can find the role play that I want. I'm just going to go find one that has multiple things. Let's say over here, I'm going to find, which one is it? Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to go in and click into this. Where did it go? Sorry, my bad. I'm going to click into it, and I'll be able to see that Carlos has taken it 16 times. How is he done? Click into it. I can actually see if it was not scored, but I'd be able to see his score, and I can see his area for improvement. So I can see that, hey, he's actually done it so many times, but in general, I noticed that he's struggling with, let's say, conversation summarization all the time. I want to understand why. I can actually click into this and open up his report, and I will land on his feedback page. So now me, as someone who shared this role play with him, I can go in, see what he did well at, see what feedback he received, and actually listen in the conversation. And then I can decide, do I want to set up a new learning path for him? Do I want to give him more goes at the role play? Do I want to maybe do a one-on-one session with him as well? And with skills, we're actually coming up with an analytics dashboard that's going to show you how skills is improving across the board, role play agnostic. So not looking at, let's say, conversation summarization for this role play specifically, but how are you doing across the board with conversation summarization? So that's coming up in our Q3 roadmap, again, to go one level deeper into, are you actually improving skills over time? And are you getting better with having a tool like EasyCoach? So that brings me to the end of the EasyCoach demo. I will stop sharing screen and we can take questions. Alrighty, cool. I'm just going to go ahead and see. Let's see. Alrighty. I'm going to just go to the top because I think there were some that were for William and DeJuan, and then we can work our way down. We have a lot of activity. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Okay. Alrighty. I think there was a question on, I think this is for William. Are you using the library functionality to keep your role plays organized? This is a pretty new feature, so I'm curious to know if you are as well.
Yeah, I am using the library function. It is a newer feature because we have different suites of role plays. Some are for new hires, some are product demos, some are for different new hires, different roles. So yeah, I use that to kind of look at it and organize it in that way.
DeJuan, anything to add from your end? Or are you guys using it as well?
We are actually, I noticed that update and quickly hopped on it. So we definitely do it because similar to William's case, I have things for table games, for slots, for food and beverage, for leadership development, but also I even created one for a person who's newly exposed to EasyCoach. So it kind of walks them through what they should get used to interacting with the platform. So I think it's really great, especially when you're trying to collaborate with many different people in your team. Which is a little different from William's situation. Everyone on my team, they put it there. So it's easier for me to see what has been created in the organization as well.
Yeah, Thank you so much for sharing. Over here, I see a question from Dan. So we can currently put EasyCoach into a window, but will it be better integrated into Easygenerator itself so we can make EG listen for a successful completion of EC? I'm assuming you're talking about how Easygenerator and EasyCoach are integrated with one another. So right now, we aren't working on a way to have EasyCoach listen into what's happening with the Easygenerator courses. You can just embed your you can just embed your role play into your Easygenerator course so that you have a more seamless experience. Imagine you have people learning content, but then you want them to be able to go in and practice what they've learned. You can embed that into your course right now. But I would be curious to learn later what you mean by this too, to see if it's something that would be interesting for us to think about as well. Okay, I'm going to see. All righty. Can this be hosted on a SharePoint as an embed or link, or is it only able to be embedded in an Easygenerator course? You can embed it as a URL. So when I showed you how to share your role play, if you were to just plug that URL, you can put it anywhere. You can put it in a Slack channel. You can put it anywhere you'd like. So it doesn't really matter. It's a URL that can be used anywhere. So you can just host it on a SharePoint and people can click on it and take the role play. But I think DeJuan did mention something when he was sharing his insights that you want your learners to actually take them. So how do you get the role plays distributed in the best way possible? Maybe potentially if L&D is sharing it, people ignore it, they don't look at it, they have too many things. But if it's coming from your manager, if it's coming from a specific course where it's mandatory or it's necessary, you can actually go in and have more learner engagement then as well. Again, depends on your use case. Are there personas part of library for reuse or create unique personas for each role play? Right now, it is unique personas per role play. This is where actually having the library could come handy because you could create a template and then that persona can be reused. So people can go in and duplicate that role play from the library and reuse that persona. So there are ways to work around that as well. Alrighty. Can the admin see and access role plays that are produced by users and which are not shared in a library and modify them and assign them? So admins can see analytics, so they can see all the role plays that are created, but if they cannot see the individual role plays that are created and go in and edit them and reassign them to people. That is not allowed right now. So only people who have created a role play, if I have created role play X, I can go in and edit role play X and I can publish it in whatever way I want. DeJuan will not be able to. What's upcoming in Q3 is collaboration. So I will be able to add DeJuan as a collaborator, and then he would have some permissions that he can edit the role play as well. But only admins cannot go in otherwise and change the role play. All righty. So assuming the analytics are attached to EasyCoach, how easy is it to create reports? Well, you can export everything out into an CSV, so you can do a lot of things with it. And as mentioned, we are looking at making our analytics a lot more robust, so it can be a one-stop shop for everything that you need, without having to export anything as well. Now, I am just mindful of time real quick. We did have one more poll that we wanted to run just to see. I know some of you mentioned yes, no, maybe later for the trial access, and that's totally fair. But we did want to just ask whether I'm going to go ahead and share the poll right now. Whether would you like us to reach out for a personalized demo or meeting or a follow-up session with you one-on-one to answer any questions that you might have? I know we didn't get to all the questions yet, so just want to ask that. So feel free to answer. And I wanted to just, before wrapping up, pause and thank William and DeJuan for your time. I really appreciate it. I know we're all in different time zones, so appreciate you jumping on the call and taking the time and sharing your experience, but also any last minute words from your end that you'd like to share.
No last minute words, I guess, besides thanks for making the tool. It makes my life easier. And thank you for having me.
I think William said it best. I agree. Thank you for making the tool. Thanks for having us here today. Honestly, we truly appreciate it.